Hello, this is with Amnesia, or Veldrin, or Matthew, whatever people have come to know me as. I just got bored and wanted to do a video just of what has been going on, more or less, just as a glimpse, I suppose. I didn't really know exactly what to make the video of, direction. I just figured just to talk about things. More just a perspective, because I realized a lot of things have changed since the last video. I did something about dungeons. I think it was like some type of what if dungeon. I've always liked to create things, and I've recently just spent I think the better half of the day making stuff for Baldur's Gate, some modifications. A lot of the progress of this game can be summed up in items, I suppose, and yes, that is a slow mount, but I guess when everything is done, that'll be the last thing I can get, I guess, is yeah, it does slow down the game because I am recording. Also, if you notice the screen, because I can't quite record this and it gets glitchy, I don't know, it's just weird. OBS, open brackets, it doesn't quite record as well. So I had to make a window, whatever, it works. So, I don't know, I guess I'll fly somewhere. Iron Forge is boring, I guess. Going on. It's like 3 in the morning. Well, 2:35 in the morning. So yeah, I just life and stuff. What I've been doing is just going to work. It's December. It's cold as hell. I live in Canada, so it's slushy. I had to do a whole bunch of plumbing and stuff, and I had to help a bunch of older this old lady. Can't move, so I had to help her move around, I guess. Yeah, so it's like this is a common run, more or less. So I realize that a lot of people, they end up leaving this game over time, and I think I'll be around on this game till server death. I didn't play Encourage all that much. I just didn't like I didn't really come to vanilla so much for Encourage. It came for Naxxramas. I thought Naxxramas was something to learn. If I wanted to be a proper game developer, I should know what a proper raid is. You know, I've said it before, people who've made the raids really good, and World of Warcraft, and I think up to Wrathlisk and early Cataclysm, they were basically EverQuest raiders. They raided EverQuest. I think they were the best raiders in EverQuest in the world. So they knew, they had a passion. They knew what they wanted, and they had a passion for making high quality things. But I think a game is not so much the tools and the resources you have, but the people you have behind it, making it. I've had to learn that through a lot of failures of trying to make games. Even this spot right here, I tried a whole bunch of modding things to connect it to Ironforge, and it just took a lot of resources. I tried to make a tunnel up into Ironforge. Realize that you have to have a specialty in the certain file formats and actual general 3D modeling. It was not quite as compatible as I thought it was. So there's a lot of work. I made a little staircase here too, but it was just a lot of work, and the tools we had weren't quite as, the modding community's tools weren't quite as good as I think what Blizzard had. You know, people who do like the sculpting of the faces and whatnot, they end up, it's a different tool they use. It's like it's a lot more detailed. I think this is what we have, like raise and lower. It doesn't quite work. I'll say we, but isolated community, because anyway, nobody cares about modding World of Warcraft so much. But anyway, I don't know who listened to this so much, but I just thought I'd get my thoughts across. So I've got some, I think this is my DPS gear. What I got going? Yeah, I was on Molten Core there, just doing DPS gear. It's not the best. My guy, he's got very bad ping. He comes from satellite internet. I think he got the worst ping of, I think, at least United and Vanquish. There's 2 guilds left. There used to be more guilds. There used to be Extinct and Onslaught or something. I can't remember all the guilds on here, but now it's just down to Unite and Vanquish and Full Mithril Jacket. I tried to help Full Mithril Jacket, or what was it called? Resurrection, the combining of the lesser guilds to make some type of thing so the people who start have a chance at, getting into raids and stuff. And Full Mithril Jacket, they were the victor. They stood strong, and now they have the second guild. on the server, and they do basically the, you know, you hit level 60, you start raiding. That's basically what they're into, and they're doing Naxxramas now. They had a point where they had they didn't have enough people and they weren't clearing Naxxramas, but they were progressing it, and now they're finally clearing it. And I think as it is 2018 now, this video might be interesting to watch later on because this thing changed. But for right now, vanilla or classic World of Warcraft that Blizzard's launching hasn't launched yet. It's his private service, it's Kronos 1. So you see, like, the itemization was kind of weird. Also, I think people who perform better than I do, they get the items before I do. The raid, just, I guess, you know, it's just how things work, I suppose. But, you know, where I came from in this, I can't really be super entitled, I think, is the word for it, because I've progressed so much just by, I've 10 months of raids now, of not missing them. And it's just, I was trying to the item rack, whatever, I got the wrong one, so I need to figure that out. But, you know, all these things, playing this game for so long, I look around and I don't realize most people do this. I don't think most people play this game. I thought I didn't raid before doing, like, on Garage and Naxxramas and stuff. This is Kronos the first time raiding. I did too young, I guess, when I was first playing World of Warcraft. I came to vanilla World of Warcraft to experience the difficulty, a certain thing. Also, it's almost like this is 2 games in 1, 2 expansions, because when On Garage hit, it's like that could have almost been its own expansion, but it just kept at level 60, and it's yeah, it's its own thing. It's like you have a lot more breadth of relevant content, and even like lesser raids like Zul'Gurub and I think Direwolf the Dungeon, they got like raid buffs and stuff, and Nixie has raid buffs, and it's like interesting. Back when Lair also has, it draws people in to still be relevant. I think there's a lot to learn about game design that a lot of developers these days don't appreciate or just didn't take the time. I don't know if I still have that. If people will really learn some of this stuff, or if this is just a product of the time, or, you know, like that long progression style of basically playing a game. It's difficult, it's hard, you keep on playing it, and you slowly, I think the leveling is the speed of it's fine, you know, World of Warcraft, but I do think that there's, if it was say like 100 levels, you know, but the same pace, it would have been more fulfilling, I suppose. A lot of the more, I guess, addicting. It's already addicting, but like it's been like a day or two, you know, getting a level for most people of playing. Like, if you're really good at it and just stress yourself out, you can get it faster than that. But like near the end, like the 50s. And they did want level 70 levels in the beginning, but the Blizzard people, but they just ended up having to launch it early at level 60. So the games fluctuate from the beginning. I had to learn that myself. I'm developing. I think I'm going through a stage right now myself of learning how to make games. Like, I started like just failing at Baldur's Gate. I've basically played Baldur's Gate since I was like 9, I think. And I'm 23 now, so it's the majority of my life I've been playing Baldur's Gate, and I came from just awe-struck and amazing. Played this when I was early / middle Burning Crusade World of Warcraft, and it was the same thing. And now I'm getting to the age where I realize what it takes to make all these things. It's not just magical, show up and beg for content. It's a lot of work, and you need a lot of people to work together to make these things. And I think people, if they have lots of resources, they don't appreciate sometimes the creative synergy it makes to make these things really good, and the actual knowledge to make something amazing, you know. But I think people also get jaded. They get worn out to make something, and they just want the money after a while. Like people who made World of Warcraft when they left, it's been like 10 years effectively of working on World of Warcraft, or Warcraft in general. The Blizzard staff, and they wanted to break, and I guess they sold out. And then so, I haven't been in their shoes, so, but damn, I worry about that, you know. if I ever become a successful developer and just get jaded, you know. You know, because it's this game. It's amazing to me. It's like a masterpiece. It's a marvel. It's just everything. You know, I'm still playing it, I suppose. I never played retail, vanilla, classic, whatever. I just found this version much better. I thought it was just more thought out, kind of. Items are kind of a bit wank, but they still work. They're more fleshed out. They're just... It's just a better game design, I think. I think maybe I'll try Burning Crusade. Probably not, maybe. Sometime in the future, but I want to get everything maxed out on vanilla World of Warcraft to see what that experience is. The one last thing I have left is to be at that pinnacle and see that whole path and to feel it, so I know what it's like. If, you know, if I could make another game, because you strip these things down, you take away the graphics, the sounds, the user interface, all these flashing lights and stuff, and spells and swords, and all these things. You're left with an experience, you know. And I think if people forget the better parts of life, or even a field, they'll forget, you know, what they're aiming for. You know, it's like an athlete who doesn't know any records or can't be inspired by things. You know, art's a very creative, also very collaborative thing where a lot of things can inspire you. I think this is like the peak of. I do have King's Fall. It's just that. I don't know. This looks way cooler. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. It's like I'm at a point in this game where there's a lot of people who I look at them and I wonder. We're playing the same game here. It's just that so many different types of people are all the same. It's like I come here from a completely different perspective, a different angle. A lot of people come here for. Some people, they want to come here for nostalgia. Some people come here for just straight up addiction, I guess. I think I'm in that camp a little bit now myself. I think I'm addicted to this game, but I'm basically a wheelchair warrior because I can't get as many instant abilities per minute, so I have to swing this thing around. It's a raid debuff axe. It's so different from current versions of games versus like. This is an older style game. This was even a toned down version of what other games had. There was a lot. The diversity of games is a lot more. For example, Dungeons and Dragons, Baldur's Gate. There's spells that stun you for like a minute, half a minute. There's spells that instantly kill you. You know, there's things. It's just wild and crazy, right? And it comes from Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of inspiration, a lot of muds. You know, EverQuest was a 3D mud. You know, it was inspired by these older, more extreme games, which are inspired by, well, Dungeons and Dragons was inspired by like lore and mythology and stuff, right? So it's a different origin point. I think once people got success, especially World of Warcraft, people try to emulate the success and not the actual game itself, and you put the cart before the horse, and you see these weird kind of half and half games that don't quite strike brilliance. You know, it's like 1,000 opportunities and only 100 grasped. You know, and a lot of these games could be described as they rushed out the door because people focusing more on the money than the actual experience, and I think that's what's really killing the game industry. You know, I came back to an older game that had the biggest growth period. You know, I think arguably, if you stand up classic World of Warcraft, Burning Crusade, and Wrath of the Lich King, I think biasly speaking, classic World of Warcraft has more relevant content to offer, perhaps more simpler content, but I think it's the best version of World of Warcraft, just because the top players and the lower players are all together in one spot. It feels like you're in a big world. You're not going to space or going to a different way off continent somewhere. You're actually, you know, in a living world. It feels like it. And there's a lot of, I think World of Warcraft went into a different direction with the Burning Crusade. I think it had a limited run. I think the developers probably figured that out too, but I think there could be a potential for a better game. You know, a game, I often think about it, what would be like this but better. You know, an actual successor, something that raises the bar, but not crazy. You know, not something that's a fever dream that never happens, but actually something that is better than this. That the same experience, that epic quest, that journey that takes months to level up to max level, that takes years to get to the best equipment, you know, and all that dedication, all that time, all that progress. People have items, you know, and every item has a story, you know. If you just get them, they don't mean anything. I remember being a game master on personal server. You could just type in, you know, any item you wanted. I had this epiphany. I just felt that, you know, all this power, all this thing, it's meaningless without people to enjoy it with, you know. I really got thinking, you know, all this time I've been searching for people like myself, I suppose, creative-minded people. There's not many like them, I suppose, but I think it's the reason why I make games a lot of the time, is I want to have this passion, but I also want to make them for people to enjoy. You know, I don't want to make a game for myself so much as I want to make it for something to really enjoy, you know. I've always liked making games more than playing them. That's what I found frustrating about World of Warcraft, is I'd rather be playing it. But I think it's a good experience to, in circumstance, just to sit down, play the game, and don't adulterate it, for lack of a better word, and just enjoy it for its whole experience, and then take that wherever I go, you know. When I'm finally through with this game, when the server shuts down, perhaps that's when it is. Who knows? I will, you know, perhaps, you know, there'll be another chapter of life for me to go for. Right now, I'm getting out of poverty. I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to build a house. I'm building it piece by piece, incremental progress. I'm working on plumbing right now. Winterizing this place. Is cold. It's freezing. I was the only one working on the pipes on this place. On my house here with family. I'm the only one who can fix things, it seems. So I've had stress. I have gray hairs popped out of my head. I'm getting older, I think. I don't know. But just from this brief little perspective, everything in this game is just easy compared to a lot of things in life. I think that's what a big appealing part of it is, you know. I don't know. It's just, it's there. It's convenient. It's grabbable. It's in arm's reach. It's just a matter of time and progress and commitment and getting along with people. I don't know if I have enough time though. I think server might die before I get Gressel. It's the I want that experience to take with me, you know. Some people want the power, some people want the prestige, some people want this and that. For myself, I just want that experience. But then again, I've had these experiences where I've never had them. I've always played a game right to the very end. I remember Dragon Age Origins. I played that, got right to the final boss, and I never picked it up. I had to leave. I think it was summertime, but it stuck with me. Even Baldur's Gate, I played it right to the very end. I knew it was the end. I didn't want to end. That's why I like World of Warcraft. It doesn't end so much, or it's very spaced out, the content. But it's I guess that'd be the end. I saw a lot of people as a main hand weapon. Yeah, it's an interesting thought, you know, to have that experience to replicate that journey and to give it to other people of another generation, you know, to pass the torch, so to speak. You know, I went to this game. Well, I thought Classic was just being some clunky prototype that, you know, was better in memory and fantasy than in actual practice. But I came here and I was surprised. It's the best RPG experience in general that I've, you know, you're with people, you're in this kind of, the world's a bit weird, but given the graphics and the time, it's perfectly acceptable. I think the graphics are a bit, you know, they don't really help the immersion so much as a player standpoint. From a raw, hey, I want to dive into the world, these things are just plopped down little like Lego trees, you know. They don't really look real, you know, but they have that theme of them. And I think scale is a big thing of this game. It's just big enough where it feels huge, but it's also just small enough as developers that you can make it kind of quickly. You know, it's a good balance of things. You know, I remember getting a trinket out of one of these baskets. All the things but vanilla was that all these little one-off little things. Actually, engineering had like these little intricate little quirks to them. You know, that a lot of the other World of Warcraft games, our games, are just streamlined. You know, have the crafting system, have this, have that. People sat down and tried things. What about this? What about that? Heard some developers, they just try to ninja things into the game. They try to, you know, add things in extra, just push it a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. I think it's a big thing is people, they try, when they're first making a hit, like a rookie syndrome, they don't know how good their top end is. They don't know how good they are. They just give everything, balls to the walls. They don't know if you're going to succeed. They didn't know, when Warcraft started, they didn't know if even 1 million people. 100,000 people subscribers. That would be amazing for them. When they first started, they blew up their servers. You know, they were humble in the beginning. But now they just expect the game to die now. They don't, developers now, they don't expect World of Warcraft to bounce. They don't have the spirit. They don't have the will for it, you know. They don't have the raw. They don't have the vision. I don't think that made this game great. They have mediocrity, but I don't think they have greatness. You know, that's what I'm chasing. I think I'm chasing that ability to discern shit from good things. You know. I guess a big reason I came here was I thought this was the best place to learn it. You know, is in practice. I think to really know something, you have to practice it. Good or evil, or have it practice upon you, or just be in the experience, immersion, right? Like learning a language, just jumping in there. Yeah, I just, you know, I always thought this sword was amazing, and I finally got it, and I just feel empty, you know? I went through the event, I went through the Sword Crusades, and there was a quest at the end. It was like, go to the Outland, and you'll get a new Ashbringer, but they never followed through to it. Only when they had to get subscribers back, and they got the old team in there to build Legion. They threw all these things at them, these things, and it's just, I think it was the mystery, the mystery and the exclusivity and the Ashbringer, the story, all these things that people gave it power, which made it feel powerful, and you know, it doesn't feel legitimate because it's not on the official servers, I guess, but it's the Ashbringer. The server, you argue, have less bugs than the original classic World of Warcraft, or if it works as intended, you know. I don't know. I just think of these things, you know. I sit down and I think. I think some people they like playing more so than thinking. Some, you know, that's fine, but I think a lot of people they just. They don't quite see the forest past the trees, or just don't care to see it. They just want to enjoy life. I think, you know, my brother got this little singing toy thing. It's like this little cute little narwhal. You squeak it, you know, you grab it, squeak, and it sings. You know, it's a little simple thing, and it made me kind of sad because it's like little like simple things of life, or you know, it's the most happy things. And people who have nothing seem to be the happiest. You know, these poor people in Africa or somewhere in the jungle, they have just themselves. You know, have nothing, have kids, that type of saying. You know, and they're happy. They don't have these they don't know the ignorance is bliss type of thing. You know, they don't know all these like these are goals, these objectives, these things to do, and you have like you're just yourself, a human being. You have limited resources, and it's like this world's like a titan you gotta lift, or you're Atlas trying to lift the world. You know, and it's like trying to make a game, for example. All these passions to make games and stuff. I have to incrementally build myself up into a game developer, or be a has-been, or be a what if, you know. I don't want to be a what if, but I get myself out of poverty and just actually, you know, build myself up. Yeah, that's what about it. It's you know, some people, they complain, you know. Probably the slowest item getting in a guild because they just can't perform as well as everybody else. But I think a lot of people complain. Some people quit, you know. They just quit. They get angry, they get frustrated, they lose sight of what's important. They feel that items and things are what makes them happy, and then they lose sight of it's the experience. You know, these things mean nothing. I had a personal server and had all the items that you wanted, all the power you wanted. You could kill anything. It meant nothing. Power is relative. It's like the whole the One Punch Man. Before it was One Punch Man, you know. Before that was popular, I felt that experience of, you know, if you have absolute power, it's boring. You know, it doesn't. You need people. And it got down to this thinking of like, you know, really, just really thinking, you know, like all these people, everybody wants everyone's opinion of something. They want people to value them. They want people to respect them. They want people to acknowledge something valuable about them, you know. And people see this. They spend so much time. I think some people are just oblivious. I was writing a song about just how this obliviousness of people to their own nature, you know. I think that controls a lot of people. They don't even know it, you know. They just, natural instinct, I suppose, go on a path of least resistance, and they want to be valued. They want, for good reason, you know, not to be ostracized by society, to work together, to get their goals, common goals, to share life, to find somebody, you know, fall in love and all that jazz, right? But I think if people don't acknowledge these things, the very, you know, human nature of, you know, of thinking and what controls you, what motivates you, why you do things. A lot of people ask how, but not why. You know, people ask, you know, where, but, you know, not when. You know, they ask material things, but not existential, like, you know, a bit beyond the skin. They ask all these things. And I think people can get lost in the details and not see the bigger picture of things. Especially, it goes back to World of Warcraft here, where people, they want to feel something. They chase DPS meters. They go for number 1, but number 1's only good if there's a number 2 or 3 or 4 look up to you. These people, they want what they don't have. Everybody wants what they don't have. When you chase a number 1 spot, all you're doing is trying to chase value. Because if you actually have the value, it doesn't quite have a need, necessity. It's like, you know, like supply and demand type of thing, right? People don't have something, they want it. You know, if you don't have water, you're thirsty. You don't have food, you're hungry. You don't have fulfillment, you're hungry, right? And I think this is a great crucible, little world, you know, World of Warcraft, that shows just how broad people want things. You know, they all want items and stuff, but they have different ways of going about it. You know, I'm here for trying to get the experience, so I can give it and breathe life into my other games, and I have the crafting system, the content progression, the how everything's linked together. But I think there's also little subtle hints of history trickling down to this game. Like the Romans, for example. I was reading a lot, watching a bunch of stuff with Julius Caesar, and you know, the Romans had a lot of success with discipline, having organization, having structure, and you see this, like, developers in this game, they wanted like that similar feeling of structure to their combatants. You know, so you see these like square dancing in Kel'Thuzad's room. You gotta, like, you know, be close to each other, dance around, don't link up, and you know, Cthulhu, same thing. You gotta dance around. And I think if you had an actual game where it was 3D modeled and had physics to it, like just to let the world be as close to life as possible, you'd still have the tank, you'd still have the DPS guys, the range guys, the sports, all that type of stuff. So I think that's all based on real life history events, things that have already transpired, you know. It might be even a part of us, you know, heritage or whatever, stuck into us, like instinct, human instinct. You know, we are like a quilted blanket of events in history, what our ancestors lived through, I guess, that could possibly be an influence on us. We don't even know. Like, why do dogs like dinging and barking and, you know, hunting? And why do cats like eating mice? You know, maybe we're like the similar thing. We like certain aspects of old school war, perhaps. We like being together, you know, progressing something and combining to get together to be more than the sum of the parts type of thing. You know, I think that's a big part of being human. You know, it's weird. You see all these non-human digital just illusions, you know, and it teaches you a bit about humanity, I think, because all this is just a reflection of what people created. You know, what came, all that love, all that passion that came to make this game, and the time it did. You can see it. A lot of filler content, you know, but I think the light does shine through in certain areas, you know, like a blanket over the stars, you know, little holes shine through. And you know, it's just, this game's a lot more bright than a lot of other games. I think part of the glory of World of Warcraft is that they tried the best and they didn't quite manipulate it for success. They just wanted a game that they wanted to play. Developers, they lose that. I think a lot of people who make the games, they give up their own personal sovereignty to get a paycheck. Maybe that's just a reality of the game industry, but it's interesting to think, you know, people, they end up, perhaps they don't have the fire, you know, either. Maybe it just, all these things I have are just thoughts of all to myself. You know, had that happen a lot. Just think about something and just nobody relates to it. It can even be the truth, but nobody thinks of it, you know. It's like, there's a truth and there's realizing something, you know. You can know something, but it's different than having it being realized. You can read it in a book, but what's that mean to you? Just like people reading the Bible, they skim right through the certain events. But like, if you relate to a certain character in the Bible, then, or the Quran, whatever you want, a holy book, you end up seeing a different perspective. People call them the living books, or the words, whatever, right? Because I think, you know, the picture stays the same, but the perspective changes. You know, as in, everybody gets something else different out of life. We can all see the same thing, but it can come to us in different ways. You can have different emotional strings that you know, say if you lost a child, and it's like a child dying, it feels a little more impactful. Say if you, yeah, you know, used to be a race car driver, see someone win a race, it's a lot more impactful for you, right? It's all relative. We relate to what we like, and we like what we relate to, you know? For me, I like RPGs. I like killing the undead. I like going to mysterious places. I like swinging swords around. I like being that type of warrior thing with armor and mages. I wish there was a fighter mage, you know? I like the whole themes of it. I think the big thing World of Warcraft like is the themes. They channel these themes of primordial times, you know, perhaps that we can't explore anywhere else. That we just, you know, we end up wanting, but we have no outlet for. You know, it's like, perhaps that's why people come to this game, is because we have this like imprint in the back of our mind for thousands of years of what life was like. And then we go to like live in cities and live in towns, live in all these civilized places. And we have no way to be that type of human. Maybe perhaps, or maybe, you know, I don't know. It's just a guess. I'm in the dark. Like when your brain is like has two halves to it, and you try like, you can actually separate. You're thinking of your two brains. Like you can, you know, have like one hand be separated by a divider and have it do a puzzle, and the other side of your brain will like try to guess what it's doing. Anyway, my point is, that's a bad way to describe it. My point is that we end up doing things in life, we don't actually know why we do them a lot of time. You know, we just have an instinct, an urge, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just being human. You know, it's the color of human. I think if we were all omnipotent, omniscient, if we had all the knowledge, all the power, all the will, we wouldn't be human. You know, there would be no need for us to do failure. And I think life in general there's a requirement to fail, to grow, to fuck up, you know. Pardon my French, but that's life's like, you know, to have problems. Because you see people, they're born, and there's this average. You can see this with the rolling dice as well. You get like a bunch of sixes, and you roll like the 6-sided dice. You roll them, you end up having somewhere around 6, 7. If you roll 2 dice, you know, you roll them over and over again. The average is overwhelming in the middle. People like that, I think, you know, because I feel like I'm just kind of isolated. Not to be like some emo weirdo, but I feel like a lot of people relate to certain things I talk about. I just, you know, alone, just how it is, I guess. But I think, but from this perspective, I can see a lot of people usually fall within a certain similarity. People want convenience. People want to be together. People want to not be cold. People want to have a house and progress. People get drunk. People do drugs. People do stupid shit. People bang the wrong people. People bang the right people. You know, it's like, we're human. We all have this average, this general performance that's very close to like average. I think that knowing where that average is, you know, It's kind of always kind of been similar spot throughout history. Perhaps the technology has shifted it. Our power as individuals has shifted it somewhat, but because we have new things to exploit and new things to power, like power tools and internet and heavy equipment of that and science, that's made us more powerful by like almost immortalizing our work, our progressive incremental work that's boring and nobody wants to do, but only passionate people with the hard work do. Like, Library of Alexandria burnt down. A lot of that went away. It was almost like a feeling of Atlantis, where all these past mysteries and strengths go away. You don't know what you lost until it's gone, type of thing. You know, I think that's a point where we have to avoid that. You know, that type of knowledge death, because then it makes us really powerful. Because a lot of what we do in life is like this game. I could have been born some fucking farmer guy, you know, in like 1611, and not know anything, and just be shit and die, have a plague or something, you know. But now I live in this time where I actually have the ability to know things, to look out and learn things. A lot of people don't exactly. A lot of our power is lent to us by things that we never did. We didn't invent the computer. None of us built, you know, made those things. We're all a conglomerate force, you know, of strengths, abilities. It's awfully blue. You know, a lot of our power is gifted to us by other people who did it just to either make money or whatever, or just wanted to make the world a better place, and we use it to our own power, you know. I never made any of these items. None of these things. No input. Absolutely no input. I just went through a system with a bunch of people over time, and I got them, you know, just through addiction. I'm chasing something. For everyone else, it's a bit different. But it's all the same, though. We all want that missing thing, you know. Some people, it's that sense of, you know, taking care of people, being guildmaster. Sometimes it's the sense of just trying to be the most valued person. Sometimes it's just wanting to see something before it dies, you know, see the last of the, you know, the white rhinos, see the last of the lonely tortoise there, the last of a species before it dies out forever, you know, and perhaps try to rekindle it, to resurrect it, because you see everything around you is dying. The game industry is dying. All this magic before, I don't know if it could be rekindled unless you know what it was before and try, you know, it's almost like sorcery, you know, like Valerian steel in Game of Thrones. It's like a mystery long gone that's people have no, they appreciate it, the artifacts that remain, but they don't know how to create it. You see, even the World of Warcraft devs, they don't know what made them good. It's like Star Wars syndrome, where they don't know the ingredients of their own success. I think if you know what made something good, you can make it again through creation, but not replication. If you try to emulate something when something was created and it turned out amazing, but if you try to emulate something like that, it ends up, if your main focus is emulating and not creating, you're putting the horse or the carriage before the horse, because I think you have to go from a place of unknown and lead yourself, because every good game pretty much was trying to break some type of into some type of unknown barrier, some type of unknown boundary, some type of new world, you know, of experience. It wasn't trying to replicate. This is a completely new experience with the Warcraft. It was their uncharted territory, and they went into this, you know. I wanted to talk about myself here, but I ended up just talking about what I've experienced, my perspective. I feel that, you know, I do so much like research, so much perception of things, look into things. Like I know a lot of things, but I do so little. You know, I know, I don't be like, oh, my head's inflated and this and that, but I know a lot of things, obscure things, mind you, esoteric things, mind you. But knowledge is power, you know. At the end of the day, it really is. It gives you leverage. And it can also be your own demise, but lonely at the top and all that. But at the end of the day, you know, what is knowledge if you just keep it to yourself? It's like, did it even exist? You know? As human beings, as social beings, where we immortalize our work, and that makes us stronger. Look at science. Look at innovation. Look at the industrialization. Look at what made people win wars and lose wars. was that sharing of knowledge and teaching of knowledge. You lose that, you lose civilization. You know, I think as a need that kind of bubbles up for me is to share this, whatever value it is. You know, that perspective. I don't know if people will take it, or if it even speaks to a certain audience of people, but I think that this game, World of Warcraft, had a lot of potential. I made these videos showing there could have been more potential in the game, but I think I was just making them just for myself, because I wanted to not forget them, to look back on them somehow. But I think I was also kind of craving to make my own stuff, but I was just too impoverished. I don't like making excuses, but I wish I had more resources to do things. I wish I knew people I could work with. I wish I could have a community of people I could just go to their house and make something. A lot of these people who made difference in the gaming industry, who made games, they had people right in their immediate, they didn't have to talk around the world. They had them right in their backyard. They grew up with them. They went to school with them, these people. People, BioWare was like 3 or 4 people, used to be doctors, and then they turned it into game developers. Blizzard was a bunch of people, I think it was at a fraternity or something, and they just got some money and they went gung-ho. And they went balls to the walls to make sure the rickety business ship, you know, overloading credit cards and stuff to pay people's wages, it'd work, and it took the risk and it worked out, you know. Life, you just gotta go for it, because you're gonna die. What do you got to lose, you know? A lot of things, but, you know, I think missing potential is a huge thing to lose in general, because you don't know when you're gonna die so much. It could be tomorrow, it could be 90 years from now, 300, you don't know. More. Yeah. So you gotta go for things, I think. What you want, right? But sometimes you don't know what you want. Like, I didn't know I liked guitar until I went to guitar class. Just whatever. It was convenient. It was convenient. Pardon me, to take that course. If I didn't take the course, I don't know if I like guitar or not. I think a lot of things are like that in life. It's good to go to school to try a little bit of everything. And I had fucking horrible, pardon me, I had a horrible start to life, you know. I had all these problems, all these drugs, and I don't do drugs, I don't drink or anything. I don't like sad stories. Oh man, I just don't like being a victim. But I've had a lot of adversity to go through, and like, I think it's school, even through adversity, you can go to school and you can learn things of life. I think school needs to be updated. I think school is an antiquated souvenir of a past system that doesn't quite work, of a promises of glory that just doesn't quite fulfill its own purpose, and there's some antiquated things that need to be changed. It doesn't quite touch, because people who need it the most do not end up influencing the system because they're poor, and the people who are actually rich or middle class, who have the time, who have the support, who have the family, the strength, they don't have these needs, you know, to have the system touch on certain areas of life, like learning how to do taxes, like learning how to spend money properly, learning not to bang the wrong people, because you'll end up having your children in pain with poverty. Poverty is a very painful thing, you know. You either beat it or it beats you, you know. It's a lot of it's through self-destruction. People drinking, doing drugs, they end up just cutting themselves of their potential by they want to trade their misery for happiness, and they end up trading their potential for comfortable numb in the now, you know. And they end up being just that, nothing. Or they're escaping. They end up being the one thing they didn't want to be. They don't want to feel nothing. They want to feel something. And they end up carving themselves up. It's like self-cannibalism of your potential. Oh man, it's a bit extreme, but you know. I don't know. I think if you're hungry for things in life, you go out and try to get them. You make yourself sacrifice. Love is no meaning without sacrifice. Look at this. You could say that with people, even the most dogged, mean bastards, you know, and play games. They sacrifice their time, they sacrifice their energy, their disappointment, all these things, and probably they're addicted, but still my point remains that these people, they play the game, they get addicted, and life, I think, rewards sacrifice, good or evil. Look at Hitler, look at Nelson Mandela. You know, look at Gandhi. You know, all these people going through hell, you know, to get their goals. And, you know, if Hitler can do it, if Gandhi can do it, Nelson Mandela can do it, if, you know, Martin Luther King, Les Brown, all these people, you know, if they can go through hell and have that fortitude of character, you know, character building days, not bad days, as Les Brown would say. You know, if they have this ability just to withstand all these things, life rewards that, I think. I think that teaches that in the old school version of World of Warcraft. It teaches you, if you want things, you have to have tits and ass and woo stupid people, and then you get shit for free. But it's a typical thing. Or you have to work hard and actually go and earn it. So, or a combination of both, right? So, you know, yeah, that's one thing that's kind of sad, you know. I say that as a jive, but a lot of women, they don't. I know. I think men, they're a bit more aggressive in nature, more expendable. You know, women, if you get hit, a lot of women, they go through life, they never had a fight. Well, that's not true for a lot of women, but a lot of women, they don't fight. They don't do physical stuff, right? Because if you're pregnant, you get shot to the gut, the kid's dead. You can't afford to be stupid. You see these a lot of women, typical thing where it's like the women's, oh, the man's stupid, you shouldn't do this, that. The woman's right a lot of the time, because, you know, women tend to think more cautiously, and it rewards, you know, it works out in the end. I just wish women had the ability to take more risks, you know, that I think, especially in this world now, where it's more so of the mind than the body. I work like shake blocks and stuff out in the woods, and you need a body. Not many women could do that job, just because it's so demanding on the body. And most women are kind of spaghetti armed, or they don't spend the time to rip themselves up into shape. A lot of men don't like butch ass women, but you know, it's not all the case. But I think how this game kind of plays out. Like Pokemon is a popular game, but you also battle, but you also take care of things, you know, you nurture things, you love, you have to put love into the game. World of Warcraft, you don't really do that. It does not really indicative to really support. I think a lot of women don't like that just violence. Yeah, maybe like the minority of women, like you see the general demographics of, it's mostly men playing this game. There's no love in this game. There's camaraderie, but there's no actual, like, trying to raise things and nurture them, and, you know, having a little farm and having some kids and so whatever. Right? There's none of that. It's just death. You just go to the most death place, undead fill, and you get these items to rest, and that's the pinnacle of the game. There's no love. There's no, like, hey, let's go take care of these. Let's build the house. Like SimCity was popular with, like, men and women, because you could build things, you know. You could build things, middle communities, right? I think women, you know, they have a lot of civil jobs, and they bring civility, organize things, you know. It's there's a lot of value. I think a lot of women are underappreciated, and sometimes they're just a bit too cautious. It goes both ways, you know. I'm not, you know, it's just thinking that these type of games, they're built by men, more or less, you know. Some women, but it was mostly men. It kind of reflects that, you know. I always wonder why I think that's why Minecraft was also kind of popular, because it kind of goes to that nurturing, that building, that like building a community, you know, that more human aspect. Because this game, all these games they just touch upon your humanity, that progression, you know, that trying to fulfill your being a human. I think, you know, the whole warrior thing and going out and getting glory and honor and camaraderie, like, you know, I think kind of wars kind of were thought to meant to be, you know. I think this game perhaps funnels a little bit of that human nature. So young men playing this game all the time, right? But, you know, where's the whole taking care of people? Where's the whole, you know, women being healers and stuff, and that whole joke about, you know, the boyfriend always wants the girlfriend being the healer? I think that's, you know, because the men could do stupid things, they all die, and who's taking care of them in the tent, you know, fixing the women, the nurses and things, right? Even the wars. I think, you know, instead of denying all this humanity, these things, I think you should touch upon them, you know, not in a forceful way that a lot of like Star Wars and stuff and all these newer films are trying to do, but just to touch upon, have elements from history that people that does homage to them, you know, that's heritage, right? But enable people, empower people, not just stick them into one role, but to, you know, have many options. Because life would be boring if it was just one, you know, you only had to, if everyone was the same. If everyone was like, you know, Agent Smith off the Matrix, it would be boring as hell. It may not even be life, just be some, you know, microorganism all the same, doing nothing, like those like crazy vine leech sponge things that swim through the dark of the ocean, whatever, right? These long tentacle, ethereal looking things. They're all kind of the same, but even then they have to be different. One of them is the face, one of them is like the jet thing, one of them is just like eat stuff. It's amazing. A little underwater city of microbes and stuff, but just floating around. Games are kind of like those little things, you know, floating around in cyberspace and doing nothing, but they're just all stuck together at each other. Because, you know, even in these games, you lose the players, you lose the game. Nobody wants to play it. You hit the certain, like, the auction house doesn't work. You can't get groups, can't get raids, and then everybody starts. It's like heat death, but it's loneliness death. You know, these games are always better to play with people. Anyway, I just think that women are really under, not marketed, but like, how this is like, wow, we're going out into war and killing things, whacking things. That's cool, you know. You know, the young boys playing sword fights, you know. But there's none of that, like, you know, taking care of the dolls and the Barbies and things like that, you know, like a lot of girls do. It's not, you know, a lot of girls play with the trucks and stuff too, you know, when they're growing up. But most of the girls don't quite do that type of thing. It's not bad. It's just like a different color, you know. It's like being gay. It's not bad. It's just a different part of humanity, you know. If people are like that and they're human, they're living, they're breathing, they have dreams, I don't think that forfeits them from having a dignified life, because they're a little bit different, you know. People who are straight, so it's so-called default, you know, they can do stupid shit too, you know. They can hurt people's feelings, they can ruin their children, they can have kids, but it doesn't mean they're going to be a parent, you know. Gay people can probably can't biologically have kids, but they can still be parents, you know. You know, that type of thing. If you get what I'm saying, you know, you can, you know, being human's a lot more than just your default thing. Like look at animals, they're gay too, right? I think it's also, you know, when you have like supply and demand, see if there's like not enough women, more men turn gay, you know, not enough men, a lot of women turn gay type of thing. I think it's just because we're better together with people than without. Like, it's just a natural thing to get us to be productive, fulfilled, right? Just that type of thing. Sorry for coughing, just a bit dry. It's awfully cold. I have these heaters on. I turned most of them off. But yeah, I don't know. Like this place over here, this is like a big, like the whole Duratar place. That was like a whole like nostalgia trip for a lot of people. But like, I didn't really go to the Horde. It just wasn't quite my calling, you know. I understand people like the barbarianism, the whole accent things, the simpler time, kill, savagery. Yeah, I always like the castles and the elegance and the more medieval times, you know, the whole castles and shields and organized, like the Romans, you know, like versus like the barbarians. I was more like the barbarians were not quite my thing, you know. I always felt that it was kind of self-defeating, right? There's no Horde Guild rating on vanilla, by the way. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, the server anyway, used to, but I don't know. But yeah, I think Blizzard was very smart throughout their whole kind of theming of things, where they kind of encapsulated certain things that they knew resonated with people, right? For example, in you know, the Alliance and the Horde, they're differently themed. You know, they're going after different things. You know, they're like savagery versus organization type of thing. You know, hot-headedness, red. You know, versus like calm and think about it, blue. You know. Even in Overwatch, Blizzard, they knew about the certain caricatures. You know, the big healer characters were mostly, I think, women. I think, you know, support characters mostly women. That's what kind of women tended to do, I guess, just by their, you know. There's nothing bad about that. It's part of life, you know. People need to do damage. People need to do healing, right? It's nothing bad about that. Men can do healing. You know, it's like, you know. You know what's interesting though? This whole like void of women in the games and stuff. It's weird because people make women characters. You know, I guess people have that void themselves. I don't know why exactly they do it, but they have this like they have a woman avatar for like, I think it's less so with like women. They make like a male character, you know, they do the gender swap thing. But I think a lot of characters who are women but they're guys behind, I think the guys secretly kind of, you know, they're lonely, or they like just the company of women a lot, you know. They enjoy women a great deal, so they always kind of want to be close to women, you know. Some people want to exploit women for their own kind of basic instincts, but some people just like women. Some people like men, you know. I don't know. There's different ways to live life. People get so bent out of shape, you know. I think it's just really because nowadays people want to have certain abilities. They don't want to be stuck in a box, you know. But they also, you end up, sometimes you want something so much that you only start looking at what's good for you, and everything else doesn't matter. A lot of people, especially now, like the feminists, there's no masculines. They don't champion the other side. It's just themselves. They only turn one way. And I think you end up shooting yourself in the foot a lot of the time. I don't want to talk about feminism because it's such a cancerous subject to a lot of people, but like, I think it's the point. It's self-destructive because it's like being rich. And how did I only discover the Echo House? Now what the fuck? Anyway, yeah, it's like being rich and you don't understand what life is like for the other people, you know. It's, or being poor, you don't understand, you know, the stresses of certain things, of business and actually accountability. It's a different, you know, area of life. And I think certain people I think without adversity, people lose character as well. Now it's easier to be a human being. It's easier to go on easy mode and to have social. You can marry yourself to the government. You don't have to. I think it's a good thing. Lots of women getting beat up, I think, you know, by asshole men, which is good, you know. I've seen some women not have great times, you know, say it lightly. I think that's good, you know. Perhaps we're all going to need some type of basic universal income, perhaps, because, you know, humans need not apply type of thing, and robotics eventually, but who knows? It could be some guy in the 50s talking about how we're flying cars in 2000s. It could be that, right? But who knows? Yeah, it's just all this shit I think about, you know. I want to get on here and make a video about anything World of Warcraft. I ended up talking about life and just where that, and all these thoughts that kind of just echo and bubble on my head, you know, until this could become like an audience in the din, just 1,000 voices at once, you know, kind of just that feeling of being in a crowd, but it's your own thoughts. Just I guess it's like, you know, therapy, I guess, just to talk about it all and just talk to nobody, I guess, or myself. I don't know who's gonna listen to this. It's a bit long, you know, it's like a podcast type of thing. I'm not really doing anything amazing. I'm just walking around with stuff on, stuff that looks cool. I got it. I think it's, you know, it's good. Top of the game, etc., etc. Wow, amazing prestige, but it's just really just time, you know, time and effort and sacrifice, I suppose. So let's go over. I don't want to break the wall. Right? Yeah, I'm poor anyway. So yeah, I don't know. It just, it kind of bugs me though, being alone. Just people in general. That really kind of talking about a lot of things in life. You know, that I don't like complaining about things. I don't like saying, the man, this thing's getting me down. This thing's getting me down. This is why I can't do that. I don't like being a victim. I don't. You know, it's so, you're gonna die. Own up to your life. Take it and run with it. You make your script. You write your script. That's like Les Brown was saying. Somebody, you know, you write it. You make a flop, you get a flop. You write a success, you get a success, you know. You control your destiny. If you control your sovereignty, like your own ability to choose your destiny in life, you don't release that, you have control of your life. You can be, you know, I like that because I was fucking poor, I had no control, so of course I'm going to champion those things. I think it's an empowering thing. So, but this lack of people to relate with, I see people who have a more simpler life and they have these more simpler people. It's easier to go downhill than it is to struggle uphill to get, but on the top of the mountain you see more things. You know, the higher you go up, the bigger your perspective is. And at the top of the mountain you can see everywhere except for another top of the mountain, but then there's a horizon. You can't see things because it's the arc, because the world's only so big. You only see around you and you're like damn, you know. I don't know. It seems like these games, they're a union of 3 or 4 people who all have it together. They all have a synergy of one guy does coding, one guy does art, one guy does design, etc., etc. They all do the crucial areas, and all can they're like a band, you know. But instead of music, they're digital landscape. As I feel like I'm kind of missing my little band of people, you know. I'm missing my people, I guess you could say. A very human thing, I think, to feel is to be. I feel like, you know, I'm not with the people I would most enjoy life with, you know. I feel like I'm just, you know, I think that kind of bugs me. I think that's one of the reasons I came on, just to talk about shit, maybe beating around the bush, but like, things are really real thing, you know. It's like being an athlete and there's nobody to compete with, you know. It's like, or just that simple. I like being around people, you know. I like motivating people. I like to, you know, in sports, I'd go and, hey, let's go do this, and we'll put the, if hockey, we'll go score, you know, or whatever. And, you know, I put the sacrifice in, you know. I never gave excuses. I always tried to work hard. I did stupid shit, you know, like couldn't fucking run properly, and, you know, but I was a stubborn bastard, you know, better or worse. I don't describe it as good values. I fucking didn't like basketball for a long time and ended up being the best shot over time in my class. It's just weird shit like that, you know. But you know, I can't run very fast, but I still ran my guts out. Got an A and P just by determination, you know. Weightlifting also helped, but yeah. But I don't know. I like people, but it's kind of weird where I can only find people online, and they're all kind of weird and emoed out, you know. Or they just don't. You can't really see them or make connections. You just, like, rating is kind of interesting to move with the same people all the time. But it's like a false sense of humanity, I suppose. You know, you're with people, but then you're kind of not, because maybe 5 years from now I won't even remember. I had this dream where, I keep on saying this. I had this dream where I was kind of fading away from Warcraft, and I had this dream where I was in Zolgrub, and I was the raid with like these shit items at that time. I had the decision to raid or not, pretty much. And there was the guild people, all the person. I couldn't remember the name of it. I remember their personalities, but they're all mostly gone now. So the core people who have, I guess, that sense of family, they need to take care of their kids, but their guild mates type of thing going on with the guild. Still here. Maybe some people will leave because starting to get jaded, I guess, but no microphone, etc. But it's just, the dream struck me because I had this time where I felt like I needed to get back to these people, you know, like I was away from them, you know, and they ended up really, it struck a chord with me, I think, you know. I got back, and that dream I had, if I didn't have that dream, I wouldn't have had any of this. I wouldn't have had the sword, none of this gear. I wouldn't have the time. I was almost gonna quit WoW. I felt like I got all the dungeon stuff pretty much, except for, you know, and fucking ran that thing, lava run so many times. You know, it's the people that you play this game for, I think. Because if you just had just the NPCs, it's a boring-ass game. You're like, oh yeah, I got items and just whatever. But then you get the rating, and it's a different game opens up. It really is. A different game that opens up. It's, I don't know. It just makes you really think, why you like doing things. I think a big part of this game. It makes you wonder, for me, why do you put so much time in this shit? I think it goes down to the people. You know, I don't like people screaming and yelling and shit. I had a lot of that in my life. I just don't come here to for. And people, similar attitude, but we're all very different people in this guild. You know, back in mind trying to make this video for people, but I think I'm the only one watching it. I think so. Kind of weird thought, but whatever. They're all offline, I think, except for some dude. It's like 3 in the morning. What do you expect, you know? But yeah. That's my guild note, pretty much. Oh man, what is life? Yeah, had to remove people, like 700 people, and it starts glitching out. So, not many people playing this game, man. Not many people playing. Yeah. People get the legendaries and they all quit. I guess there's no more game to experience, but I think there's people who everything they still play it. Like they have that sense of like responsibility, like the guild master and his lieutenant and the people of the court, you know, running the kingdom, so to speak, you know. They have an obligation, I suppose. Or it's like a sense of community. You see different people in this thing, you know. There's people who are weak and self-destructive and drink and do drugs. They don't really make it here very well. You can't feed it out. I think that's why you have 2 guilds is good, at least to have, like, you know, because you get these people who are self-destructive and they end up kind of just falling naturally into this more like farm team type of thing, right? Where they perform, but not all the time. Not as high performing people who want the most of the game, who want to perform, they end up at the top and they have no room for even they filter themselves. I'm kind of like that myself. I've tried to perform as much as I can, like, mentally. You know, I'm like I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do shit. I like thinking a lot. I like thinking a lot. You know, it's the point where I don't even eat certain type of foods because this fucking fucks your brain up. Like monocytic glutamate should be banned. I think it's bad because it's bad for pregnant women. All these other things is bad for your brain. I don't eat. The point is, I sacrifice to be more level-headed. You know. And I think that I relate to a lot of people in that here, but not in the thing I want the most, you know? I'm playing the game, but I want to make the game. And I feel that I'm kind of in a right place and also in a wrong place. You know, people who made this game great, I'll play the game and they couldn't do much, but then they had a chance and they made something. I just feel like I said, like, waiting for the hammer or the anvil to be hot. I want to strike the anvil until hot. I actually released a module for Baldur's Gate. It was Zan's new group. It basically made an actual mod that worked. I used to make all these things and they just didn't work. Anyway, but now it's starting to change. So for the better, I think. Anyway, not much else to say. I'm just gonna ramble on. So, anyway, thank you for listening to me. Have fun. Take care. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.